All right. Hello, everybody. This is Omar Lyles, the mental health coach with Agape Love Network. And tonight we are going to be talking about detours to destiny. All right. Detours to destiny, inspiring hope through challenging and rough times. So I'm glad to actually have you here tonight. And first of all, I would like you to actually introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are and let everybody know what you do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be here on the show. My name is Dr. Keanna Ralph, and feel free to call me Dr. K for sure. I tell people
Okay.
it's quite all right with me. It's shorter, easier. I'm sure it helps me to not have to explain to others how to pronounce my name at times. And so Dr. K is fine. And I am the author of the book Detours to Destiny. In addition to that, I am an international consultant, speaker, and educator. I currently teach at Rutgers University, which is also my alma mater. I am a native of Camden, New Jersey. I'm born and raised and super proud of that because unfortunately, Camden often gets a bad rap. And I always like to represent because I feel like it's important to let people know that there's a lot of good and a lot of positivity that resides currently and has come from Camden, New Jersey. So.
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad that you're actually on here tonight because I was kind of curious,
Mhm.
about like what you do, your background and things like that. So I think this is actually wonderful that you're actually on here tonight. So tell us a little bit about Detours to Destiny. What is that? Tell us, a little bit about it.
Yeah, of course. So Detour to Destiny is a book of hope, right? The whole the inspiration behind it is Romans 8:28, that all things work together for the good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And I remember the Lord had actually given me the title for Detour to Destiny when I was in a very dark place myself. And I was just very frustrated. I had just finished my master's degree at the time. I was just a young 23-year-old, but I thought I had so many opportunities awaiting me once I finished my master's program, but I found myself practically homeless and not really having anything established for myself at that point in time. And I was very frustrated. I couldn't understand. I remember just laying prostrate before God and just crying out, like, what am I supposed to be doing? What's going on? I don't understand, and basically venting to God. And I remember he just dropped that in my spirit at that time. and assured me that everything was working together for the good. And sometimes we won't always understand the chaos that we may feel around us at that particular moment in time. At least I didn't. And other times I haven't. But it all becomes clear as you continue to walk the path and stay true to the purpose that he has on your life.
Mm-hmm. And when I get a chance, I'm gonna try and purchase that book. I'm not gonna, matter of fact, I'm not gonna try. I am gonna buy
Yeah,
it.
it can.
I promise you that I will buy that book. As a matter of fact, because after the end, you can send me the link and I can actually just put it on after, in the comment section. Okay. Now that we've got that out the way, one thing I didn't get a chance to read your book myself, but I will order it. So I'll get all the things of that nature, from you,
Right.
from
Just on
from what's
Amazon.
written inside of it. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
what is purpose, and how does a person actually discover their purpose in life?
That's a great question. And, I really feel like purpose may, how a person, first of all, let me talk about what purpose is, right? I believe that we are all destined for a particular mission, a calling on our lives, right? And it's the thing that we were born to do, right? Something that we were created and equipped, and we were given everything that we really need to fulfill it, right? But I think the disconnect for many individuals is that they often, unfortunately, don't always take the time to discover what that purpose is. And that's why you often find people who get caught up in this hamster wheel of life, well, are feeling frustrated, unhappy, depressed. I believe it's because of lack of understanding or pursuing one's purpose. Now, how one discovers their purpose may look different for each individual, right? There
Mhm,
are some people who discover their purpose at a young age. They know they're, look at some of the greatest athletes or the
mhm,
greatest entertainers. Like they knew since they were a child that they were destined to be a star, right? And so um, some people know that way. Other people know through going through the fire, right?
mhm,
In fact, I like to say that oftentimes it's in our pain that we will find our purpose, right? Because storms and tribulations will oftentimes get us to the point where then we're willing to be more receptive to hear what God may have been trying to speak to us about ourselves and our purpose, right?
mhm,
And so I feel like a lot of the process of understanding one's purpose comes down to the ability to get quiet and to really listen to that inner compass, right? I believe we all have an inner compass.
mhm,
We call it the Holy Spirit, right? But we all have a knowingness within that is always trying to guide us and direct us into our specific path. And the problem is that oftentimes, again, we many people get distracted. They get caught up in some of the more superficial things, like focusing on the money and trying to follow the money first,
yeah,
or
mhm,
focusing on the opinions of others and what their parents or individuals around them are telling them what they should do, as opposed to really getting clear on that inner voice that they know inside of themselves,
mm,
giving them the direction for concerning their destiny.
mm. So, this is a little bit off the cuff question, but how did you discover your purpose in life? How did you discover that, and how did you know what you actually want to do?
Interesting enough, so I initially went to Rutgers to attend law school because everyone knows that they have a great law school, and so I just, you couldn't tell me. I just knew that I was called to advocate for.
Mhm,
Um, I wanted to be a human rights attorney. I just wanted to fight for
mm,
justice, and that was my goal. And I
mhm,
remember I was probably in my sophomore year at the time. I was a sophomore and junior year. I was president of pre-law society, and I was on my way, I thought. And then I had this, I guess, come to Jesus moment, and and I remember being in prayer. I remember, just really feeling this sense that I was going in the wrong direction.
mm,
And what comes to mind is there's a quote that says, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically it says that when you're climbing the ladder of success, stop now and then to check and make sure that your ladder is leaning against the right wall, right?
Mm.
And so it was at that moment that although I was, I was successful, being successful in school, and I was on all these different clubs and activities, I realized at that moment through ministry, because I was serving in ministry, I had started up a ministry on campus, I was doing different things in my local church. And, that opened my eyes to things I had never seen before or known before in the area of leadership and administration. As I was positioned in these roles to lead and to help empower people, I realized in doing that volunteer work that that's what I was really more passionate about.
Mhm.
And so it was a combination of volunteering and serving others, and utilizing gifts that I never knew I had until then. And also then being really, again, like I mentioned earlier, being very, very, very open to hearing that quiet voice, and not just hearing, but willing to follow it. And that was how I actually began my pursuit of purpose. I actually changed my initial plans right in the
Mhm.
midst of college.
Mhm.
Changed directions, and fortunately it worked out where I was able to, instead of going to law school, I was able to finish out my degree in political science and just go right into a master's program. And then the rest was
Mhm.
history. And here I am living out my purpose, and so grateful for it.
Mhm. And that's interesting. Following, well, actually, the change of direction and actually following through is key because
Yes.
that was like that with me. The change of direction was like life changing.
Yeah.
My mindset began to click, and I'm just like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
I know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
figured this out,
Mhm.
because in that journey, you're looking for something and you're not quite sure.
Yeah.
But then it's like a light bulb strikes, and then you're
Mhm.
like, wow,
Mhm.
you know what? I think I really like doing it because
Yeah.
being that I work in healthcare, right?
Yeah.
Now, I do speak to singles and couples and things of that nature uh, through Agape Love Network, which is I consider it much more like a practice, but it's also an organization to help people learn how to deal with things that are difficult and uncomfortable in relationships. So we focus on the mental health part of it,
Mhm.
people who are
Yeah.
like breaking up and things of that nature. So I
Mhm.
said, you know what, this is my purpose. I
Yeah.
know what I'm supposed to do. So I'm supposed to
Love it.
minister and help people in that specific area. So you hit it right on the money, and I love
Mhm.
what you had just said right now. So one of the questions I want to ask you, because how do you help people to
Mhm.
strategize through getting through tough times? How do you help people strategize through getting through tough times?
Yeah, so again, it may look a little different for each person, right? But one of the go-to areas I like to practice myself and then also support others in doing the same is establishing healthy coping skills, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, when we're young, most households are not, parents don't, because most parents don't know themselves how to teach their children healthy coping mechanisms. So the child is left to kind of figure out their own way of self soothing and being able to self regulate their emotions. And in the process, there are some individuals who pick up the wrong habits as a result, or the wrong ways of trying to deal with their stress. And so one of the things that I do is I teach healthy coping skills, things such as how to do deep breathing. I think breath work can be very powerful when it comes to being able to de-stress, decompress. I also believe in the power of exercising gratitude. That's something that I practice myself.
Mhm.
When I wake up in the morning, I like to think of three things that I'm grateful for, whatever
Mhm.
comes to mind, and just really get in that feeling, because they say that you can't practice gratitude or express gratitude and complain at the same time, right?
Mhm.
Um, And so it's a great way to shift one's mood and thus push the momentum more into the positive direction. Another area for me is exercising. I believe that a body in motion helps with your emotions, and so
Mhm.
the more we take time to move our bodies and also give it the healthy nutrients it needs through proper diet, that too can support us in being able to deal with stress better. And then faith. Like, I mean, I honestly, that should really be at the top of the list. I know for me, that's been having a relationship with God has been a game changer, and being able to help me weather many storms throughout life,
Mhm.
and being able to pray and worship, meditate, all of those things can be very, very helpful. And then there's, I mean, honestly, I could really go on. There's a list of many things, but I do want to make sure I fit this one in. And that
Mhm.
is community, right? And I think
Mm.
we oftentimes we don't give enough value to the strength of community, right? And when you think of the analogy, like even of birds, right, you notice that birds always fly together and in formation, because the way the formation that they're flying in, the V shape, it allows the birds from the front of the line to help give extra wind to those flying behind them, so they're ultimately supporting one another. And that is the beauty of community. When we are able to be in community and have supportive, healthy relationships, then that in essence is one of the keys also to being able to ride out challenging times. And I'm big on that analogy, so I give one more. And so think of it like this: as if you're barbecuing food and you have a piece of coal that happens to fall off on the side, right, away
Mhm.
from the rest of the pieces of the coal. Well, that piece of coal is only going to last but so long before the fire begins to die out, because it's not surrounded by the
Mhm.
other pieces of coal to help keep it lit. And so again, that too is another a powerful imagery of why community is so vitally important.
Mhm. Mm. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
So, uh, now, what does a person do when they feel like their whole world is actually falling apart? And I know that people want to find their purpose and things of that nature and going through tough times, but what does a person do when they know that life is coming to a point where they feel like they're in despair? How does a person get through that? And
Yeah, that's a great question, Omar. So I really believe that everyone needs to have a strong mission, a strong vision, right? They have to have a strong and compelling why. There's a quote that says, if you have a compelling why, then you can endure any what that may come your way, right? And so when you have a clear vision of your purpose, your mission, and what it is that you are called to do, then that gives you that extra drive, even in the midst of hardship, right? Um, I like to think back to a time when I was going through a really rough season. I was in a car accident and I had a bad
mm,
back injury, debilitating, where
mm,
it was difficult to walk. I could barely walk. And I remember I had went to this women's conference. This is, I think, probably in 2017, maybe. I went to this women's conference, and it was happened to be held at a high school, local high school, in Voorhees, New Jersey. And I remember I was walking down the hall, and it felt like it was the road to eternity, because the hall seemed so long because it was so difficult for me to walk. It was like every step I took, I was in excruciating pain,
mhm,
where
mm,
I almost didn't even want, it almost made me not even just go to the workshop, which was about dealing with back pain, ironically. But I knew that I had to get there. And I remember telling myself, as I took every painful walk with like my eyes like welling up with tears, I remember telling myself that one day, Keanna, you're going to help other people. You're going to help other people that's dealing with the same type of pain that you're experiencing. And for me, it was not just the physical pain of the back injury, but it was the other emotional pain that came with it. All the things that just kind of upended life at the time for me, or pulled the rug up from under me, if you will, when the car accident happened. And I had other things taking place that I was just trying to manage, and it was taking a toll on me also emotionally. And what got me through was knowing that I was going to be able to share my testimony and share some of the things that I had been learning about my own health and how to manage it, both
Mhm.
physically and emotionally, that I would be able to share it and help other people. I would help pull them through the fire as I
Mhm.
was now walking through the fire myself. And so for me, that was part of my why. And that allowed me understand that even though that was a difficult situation, that wasn't my end, my
Mhm.
story
Mhm.
wasn't supposed to end there.
Mhm.
I think that's what people need to remind themselves. They need to know that their current situation is not their final destination,
Yes,
that there
yes.
is a purpose greater than what they can see. And if they can just hold on to that and keep moving, then that will help give them the strength to be able
Mhm.
to bear it.
Wow. And you know something, I've been through a lot of tough times myself.
Yeah.
And one thing about pretty much what I do is that I also let people know that it's okay. When you feel like something is going on in your life, you should at least have somebody to go to.
Yes.
And do not be embarrassed about whatever situation that you are going through in your life,
Mhm.
and learn to go to somebody when you're in need of help.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and a lot of times we feel like we're on like this low end of life, that we're afraid that we're going to be embarrassed and that people are going
Mm,
to say things about us if we
yeah.
speak to certain people about things, because of the way society looks at us,
Right.
you
Right.
know. So especially when it comes down to dealing with mental health, you know, the stigmatism that's actually behind this.
Right.
And one thing is I like about this conversation is that for people to find their purpose and how to get through these kinds of things, you know, and that's what pretty much you're communicating on tonight. And so I've allowed myself to have people in my life, so
Mhm.
whenever I'm in trouble, or whenever I need help, it's not just
Yeah.
the people, I can call on God.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, and that's the number one, you know, in
Yeah.
my life. So thank you for that. And so when you're going through something in life, how do you become a better person?
Mhm. Yeah, so it's interesting. I was teaching a class today, on resiliency, to this to the school age children, and I was talking about the stress response and uh,
Mm,
how to overcome some things such as anxiety and stress. And one of to my surprise, one of the young students called out and said, "You have to have a growth mindset." And I said, "That's right, young man."
oh wow,
I was
I
so
like that.
impressed. Oh my goodness, I was so impressed. And so, and I went on to explain to the rest of the class that, the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, and how it's
Mhm.
important to be able to maintain a growth mindset, a mindset that really uses trials and tribulation as an opportunity to grow. Right. I think Joel Osteen once said that don't just go through it, but grow through it. And
Mm,
when we take on that type of mentality, it
mhm.
allows us to be able to find a gift in the pain. We're able
Yeah.
to see that there are things that's oftentimes being worked out in us as we're going through those challenging times. In fact, I talk a lot about that in my book, and about how many times God is really using the adversity as a way to sharpen us, to almost prune us, to refine. Sometimes we have to go through the fire to be refined, right? When you think
Mhm.
about
Yeah.
the most precious metals, it's the fire that really brings out the essence and the beauty of them. And that is that's the process oftentimes for us as well as humans. God will use the most unlikely or
Yeah.
unwanted
Mhm.
circumstances
Mhm.
to really help sharpen us and almost if you like a sandpaper. You think about sandpaper, right? You were rough around the edges. Well, that sandpaper is going to help smooth out those edges. But guess what? It's going to be a little rough. It's going to be a little rough in the process. And sometimes things can rub us the wrong way. But when you understand that when one maintains the right perspective through the process and the right attitude through the process, we can oftentimes come out that situation better and not
Mm,
bitter. But it's all about perspective. It's all about perspective.
awesome, awesome. I'm loving this. This is something that I believe that many of us should take heed to. Because and when I was younger, yeah, I'm still young now, so but when I was little, this is the kind of inspiration or the kind of talk or the kind of conversation I wished I had when I was younger. And there are a lot of people who don't have mentors. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that I believe, that you're probably a mentor or inspiration to other people to have to listen to what you have to say. But by the way, I would like to know uh, how was your book doing though?
How is my book doing?
Yeah, how is it doing, and how is it reaching people?
Yeah.
Are people being inspired by it? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so just about every piece of feedback that I've gotten for my book has been positive. People have told me how it's helped change their lives. I remember being out at events and people, individual might stop me and just to share testimony about how much the book had touched them. And so
Mhm.
I've gotten a lot of great feedback. I've had people come to me because you see, I wrote the book over 10 years ago.
Oh
And so
wow. Okay.
over 10 years ago. And so of course, I'm like you said, I'm still young today, but I was
Yeah,
even younger
I know
then.
that's right.
And so people thought like, what does this young lady have to talk about life? What can I
Mhm,
learn?
mhm, mhm.
And I had this one older woman come up to me not too long after purchasing the book, and she said, Keanna, I honestly questioned whether or not I would get anything really that substantial or of value because of your age and because and she said this out her mouth. She thought that because I was so young, what kind of life had I lived at that point in time where I could share those type of gem wisdom pieces of wisdom. And but the reality is that age really is just a number, and
Yeah.
I've gone through so much, even as a young person, that it taught me and matured me at a possibly, I guess you can say, at a quicker rate, perhaps. But
Mhm.
um, and I'm a student, right? I'm not just academia, right? Of course, I have a few degrees under my belt, but in addition to that, I believe in studying and learning and
Mm.
understanding like all these
Yeah.
different things that we go through so that we could get through it. And
Mhm.
so I'm the type of person that I like to put together the experience and also the research. And so I even merged that in my book. I put together the experience of what I've gone through, what I've learned,
Yeah.
and my experience from life. And then I also looked at what other people went through, what they
Yeah.
learned, what the
Mhm.
what studies have proven, what if it's not like actually no, I'm gonna say this. Um Success leaves clues, right? And a lot of times we think we have to come up with something fresh, different, and that does not have to always be the case. Sometimes it's just understanding that we could stand on the shoulders of giants, that if we
Yeah.
take the time to really listen to those who have gone before us and
Mhm.
really glean from their wisdom and understanding, then we can
Mhm.
mature quicker and we can grow quicker and we can overcome quicker the things that
Yeah.
are coming, the things that we're finding ourselves faced with
Mhm.
throughout life. And so, but yeah, I've been really blessed in terms of how well the book did in terms of the impact. I'm going to be honest and say I have not necessarily been pushing it.
Aw.
I really do need to get back to it.
Yeah.
I think there's been other things that I've been really focusing my attention on,
Mhm.
but I'm glad that you reached out to me to do this interview and that we're having this
Mhm.
conversation because it's a reminder that this message needs to go. This is a message that needs to be out there,
Mhm.
and I'm going to commit to doing a better job to making sure that it gets back out there.
Okay, all right, awesome, awesome. You know, and I love books. I'm a um. How can I say this? I read a lot.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
You know, and so I know I remember years ago I said to myself I wanted to grow my own library.
Nice.
So every for the past 10 years, I would say I've been growing my library, and
Nice.
it's gotten so big
Wow.
that if I really wanted to, I would have um, I have a room,
Hmm.
but the books are so much that I need shelves. At least three or four, going upwards.
Okay.
So yeah, so I love to read. And so as far as inspiration is concerned, a lot of authors had
Hmm.
got me to where I've been now, because I've been to seminary and graduate school and everything like that. And so I've always had a love for reading. And not only the people in my life that has helped me pursuing my purpose, but
Hmm.
also the writers themselves who are actually authors. I have a lot of friends of mine who are authors as well. And so they have pushed me into my purpose to want me to write too.
Awesome.
So I think that that is very, very beautiful that what you're doing, and just keep doing the good work. Keep up the good work. So what I want you to do, because we're going to get ready to get off, so because I don't want to keep you too long, and then you can just stay on just for 1 minute afterward. But first thing I want you to do is please give us at least 1 minute, two the most, but you don't have to do two, but just 1 minute if you can, or two,
Okay.
giving some practical tips on
Okay.
how people can propel themselves into their destiny.
Hmm. All right, sure. All right. And so, for those individuals looking to propel themselves into their destiny, I would recommend that first you get rid of the distractions, anything that Susie or Bobby tells you to focus on, and anything that you may maybe try to talk yourself out of, and really get clear and get centered, and complete with yourself, right? Heal anything within you that may not be whole, so that you can be authentic and true to you. And when you're able to be authentic and true to you, then you're able to more clearly hear, and listen to that inner compass from within to determine what is the path and what is the destiny, there for you. And I would say be intentional. Does if that means reading more or taking up a class or volunteering to kind of explore and really get to know more about yourself and what you like and what you are drawn to, then do that. Do whatever it takes, but don't sit on your gifts. If you know that you have something that you were called to give to the world, then position yourself to be able to utilize it. And don't worry about the money. Don't let money stop you in the sense of uh, focusing too much on whether or not it pays enough or different things like that. And just focus on what it is that really lights up your soul and speaks to your heart. And when you do that and you follow that, oftentimes the money will follow, right? The money will come, right? You can figure out how to bring the money later. But what's the most important is for you to be true to you and to follow your North Star.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'm sure somebody got inspired out there, because actually we're on YouTube and we're also in our coaching and counselors group as well. So if you're not watching, now, many of you will be watching later on, and I hope that this is actually inspiring to each and every single one of you. So right now, I would like for you to let people know where they can actually find you. We're on social media. How they can get in contact with you. You have any speaking engagements coming up? Wherever it is, you can let them know right now.
Mhm. Yeah, so people can find me. I'm active on Instagram and Facebook. I do have a Twitter, but I haven't been as active on that. Instagram, you can find me under my pen name, which is Keanna Lynette, Keanna Lynette, and also on the same for my Facebook page. And then in terms of events, I do actually have an event coming up. I'm
Ooh.
recently I started up a traveling mastermind, and we had a successful one in the Poconos last month, and we were able to get this quarter mapped out. And now we're planning for our next mastermind, which will take place in Orlando, Florida. And so I'm super
Mm.
excited about that. We'll be heading there from March 21st to the 24th. For now, it is just a women's event. Sorry, fellas, but but because
It's
we're going
all
to be
right.
overnight and intimate quarters, it just seems at this point we're going to keep it to just women. But you can expect to have an amazing time. As I mentioned, this last one was just so transformational. I got many great reviews, testimonials from that. And I'm just super excited. I'm super excited about all that God is doing in this year and beyond. And anyone who wants to come along and join for the journey, you're more than welcome. Let's make sure that we are truly pursuing our destiny and purpose in 2024.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. And I actually appreciate you for actually coming on here tonight. You've inspired me, and I'll have you on in the future, especially if you have any new projects or any other subjects, anything like that. You're more than welcome to come again. And I thank you so, so much. So, everybody, thank you for actually coming on a Agape Love Network. And please, let me put this up right here. If you would like to know more about Agape Love Network, I ain't gonna put it up right now. I'll put it up later on. But just go to our website, www.agapelovenetwork.net, and you'll find all the information about the mental health and coaching group. Also on our website, well, not on our website, but on our YouTube channel, you can find us at Agape Love Network. Omar Lyles, the mental health coach as well. You can check out the Agape Love Network magazine and all the things that you can purchase there as well. Okay, and thank you for very much for coming on tonight. I've been overjoyed and very welcome as well for having you come on tonight and explain to people about Detours to Destiny, inspiring through challenging and rough time and tough times. So thank you very much. So just stay on for just 1 minute, and everybody, please, thank you and good night.
Good night.